Have you ever felt like your house was watching you? I live in a quiet corner of West Virginia, in an old house that's seen more years than I have. The basement was always just a basement, damp, smelling of earth and forgotten things, until the door appeared. It was at the far end of the cellar, where the shadows were thickest. Just a flat, featureless slab of dark wood set right into the stone wall. No frame, no hinges I could see, and most unnervingly, no handle. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was an old coal chute entrance I'd never noticed. Maybe a previous owner had sealed it up. I told myself a dozen different stories, and for a while, that was enough. I just ignored it. I stopped going down to the basement unless I absolutely had to, and even then, I'd keep my back to it. Life went on, the bills came, the seasons changed, and the door in the basement became just another weird quirk of an old house, until one night, it was late, a storm was raging outside, and the power had just gone out. I was home alone, fumbling for candles, when a massive clap of thunder shook the entire house. It wasn't just the noise, it was the sheer violence of it. My heart hammered against my ribs, a primal, cold panic seizing me, and that's when I heard it. A sound from below my feet, a low, grinding creak, like stone scraping against stone. It was coming from the basement. Against my better judgment, I grabbed a flashlight and crept down the wooden stairs. The beam cut a shaky path through the darkness, and there it was. The handleless door, which had been sealed shut for as long as I'd known it, was now open, just a sliver, a vertical crack of absolute blackness. My panic from the storm was nothing compared to the dread that flooded me now. I couldn't move. I just stood there on the bottom step, my light trembling, staring into that sliver of void. The house was silent except for the storm and my own ragged breathing. From that sliver of darkness, a sound began to emerge. It wasn't a growl or a scream, it was a whisper. Faint at first, then growing clearer. But it wasn't one voice. It was a chorus of them, all murmuring at once. And as I listened, my blood ran cold. The whispers were memories, my memories. They were describing the day I fell from the treehouse and broke my arm, the terror of being lost in the woods as a child, the crushing humiliation of being fired from my first job. Every secret fear, every moment of shame, every painful memory I had buried was being spoken aloud by those disembodied voices from behind the door. My mind was screaming at me to run, to get out of the house, but my fear had me pinned, and the more I panicked, the wider the door opened. It was a slow, deliberate movement, synchronized perfectly with the rising terror in my chest. The sliver of black became a gap wide enough for a person to slip through. The whispers grew louder, more detailed, more cruel. They were feeding on my fear. The realization hit me like a physical blow. The door wasn't just a door, it was a predator, and its prey was my terror. It wanted me to be afraid. I had to calm down. It was the only thought I could cling to. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out the whispers. I focused on my breathing. In, out, slow and steady. I forced myself to think of something else, anything else. The smell of coffee in the morning, the warmth of the sun on my face, a song I liked. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Sitting in a dark basement with my worst moments being whispered from a supernatural void, trying to find a scrap of peace. But slowly, painstakingly, it worked. My heart rate began to settle. My breathing evened out. And as the calm washed over me, something else happened. The whispers started to fade. The cacophony softened back into a low murmur. I dared to open my eyes. The door, it was closing. With the same slow, grinding sound, the gap was narrowing. The calmer I became, the more it shut. I kept my focus, breathing deeply, forcing the fear down until it was a small, tight knot in my stomach instead of a raging inferno. The door continued to close until it was just a sliver again, and then, with a soft thud that echoed in the silence, it was sealed, shut tight. I scrambled back up the stairs and didn't stop until I was locked in my bedroom. I sat there until the sun came up, listening. The house was quiet. The storm had passed. The next day, I went back down to the basement, armed with daylight and a heavy hammer. The door was there, exactly as it had been before. A flat, handleless slab of wood. I hammered at it. I tried to pry it with a crowbar, but it was like hitting solid rock. It wouldn't budge. It was as if it was part of the foundation itself. I know what it is now. It's a parasite. It lives in my house, and it feeds on fear. My fear, it's patient. It knows I can't be calm forever. Life is full of anxieties, big and small. A near miss on the highway, a sudden health scare, a nightmare that feels too real. Every time that cold spike of panic hits me, I can almost feel a subtle shift in the house, a low hum in the walls. I hear things, a faint creak from the basement, a whisper on the edge of hearing. It's waiting for me to get scared enough again. It's waiting for the storm inside my head to get strong enough to give it an opening. I don't know what's in that room, but I know it wants me to find out. I live in constant fear of my own fear, because I know that one day, I'll lose control, and the door will open again.